Hello, it's me, St. Paul speaking again. Have you ever visited a vineyard? A vineyard is a garden in which you grow vines, plants that produce grapes. Grapes, I love them. Do you like eating grapes? Did you know you can dry them to make raisins or press them to make grape juice, wine, and even vinegar? Grapes and vines are often mentioned in the Bible. They are used to illustrate riches, abundance, and blessings. Mind you, it takes a lot of time and effort to grow grapes in a vineyard. In my country, Israel, you have the perfect warm sunny weather to grow grapes, but I am not so sure about yours. I heard it rains a lot where you live. First, the farmer prepares the soil and plants the vines. The vines grow and need support, so the bunches of juicy fruit will hang in the sun and not touch the ground. The farmer waters the plants and adds plant food and gets rid of any creatures that want to eat the plants and the grapes, of course. The farmer builds a wall around the vineyard and builds a watchtower to keep thieves out. Finally, the farmer regularly prunes the vines, that is to trim back the side shoots to enable the vines to produce more good quality fruit. The farmer really cares about his vine plants. Jesus often talked about vineyards in his parables. In fact, he once said, "I am the true vine and my Father is the gardener." John chapter 15 verse 1. On one occasion, Jesus told a parable about some farmers who rented a vineyard. They are called tenants. It turned out that these tenants were not so nice. Frankly, they were evil. Let's listen to the parable of the evil tenants to find out what happened.
One day, Jesus was teaching in the temple. The chief priests and the leaders of the people did not like the things that Jesus had been doing, and they were questioning his authority. "Listen to this story," Jesus told them. "There was once a man who planted a vineyard and built a wall around it. After he had finished building the wall, he dug a pit for pressing out the grape juice. Then he built a strong watchtower to watch out for thieves. When everything was finished, he rented the vineyard he owned to some tenant farmers, and then he went away on a long journey. The tenant farmers began working in the vineyard. When it was time to harvest the grapes, the man sent his servants to the tenants to collect his share of the crop. The tenants seized his servants. They beat one up, killed another, and stoned a third. The owner of the vineyard sent some more of his servants to the tenants. He sent even more servants than the first time, but the tenants treated them the same way. Finally, the vineyard owner sent his son, who he loved dearly. Surely they will respect my son, he thought. But when the tenants saw the son, they said to each other, "This is the son and heir of the owner. Come on, let's kill him and steal his inheritance." So they threw the son out of the vineyard and killed him. Jesus then asked the chief priests and the important leaders, "When the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to these wicked tenants?" "He will bring them to a terrible end," they replied, "and he will rent out his vineyard to other tenants who will give him his share of the crop at harvest time." Jesus said, "Don't you remember reading this verse in the scriptures? The stone the builders threw away became the cornerstone, the most important and honored stone in the building. I tell you, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a people who will produce its fruit." The Jewish leaders didn't like what Jesus was saying to them, and they wanted to arrest him right away for telling them this parable, because they knew that Jesus was talking about them. They were the wicked tenant farmers in the story, but they did not arrest Jesus then, as they were afraid of the crowd, who loved Jesus and listened carefully to his teachings. So the Jewish leaders left Jesus alone and went away.
In this parable, Jesus was predicting his own death. The owner of the vineyard represents God the Father, who sent his one and only Son to this earth. But rather than follow Jesus, the tenants God's chosen people rejected Jesus and demanded his death on the cross. I was once like those tenant farmers because I was a Pharisee and I spent all my time arresting and persecuting Christians. But when Jesus met me on the way to Damascus, I completely changed. I then knew that Jesus was real and that he loved me and wanted me to follow him, and that's what I've been doing ever since. And what about you? I do hope that you love Jesus too. Stay close to him. That is the best place to be. John chapter 15 verses 5 and 4. I am the vine and you are the branches. Remain in me and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me.